Thank you for joining us. Good night.
In the race to office automation, some will wait for tomorrow. But for those who choose Wang, today, it'll be business in the fast lane. Because Wang has the computer technology and worldwide resources to automate your entire office now. The choice is yours. Ignore the inevitable or race boldly into the future with Wang, the office automation computer company.
Professor, what's that cereal you're enjoying?
Ah, yes, the dates, the raisins, the walnuts, fruit, and... It escapes me.
Post Fruit and Fiber cereal. It tastes so good, you forget the fiber.
The name, good question. It contains delicious fruit. It's fruit and... I forget.
Fruit and Fiber tastes so good, you forget the fiber.
It's fruit and... fruit.
Fruit and Fiber, also with apples and cinnamon. It tastes so good, you forget the fiber.
I'm Bill Curtis. An insider's look at one of our most fascinating presidents, Lyndon B. Johnson, and how colleges are combating economic illiteracy. Tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.
Good evening, everyone. In tonight's local and regional headlines, Dave Nimmer will report on campaign charges of misleading advertising by the incumbent in the Chisago County Sheriff's race. We will hear about the controversy over billing practices at the Hennepin County Medical Center. Caroline Lowe will report on plans to spruce up St. Paul's North Wabasha Avenue, otherwise known as the front porch to the city. And as part of our Campaign 82 coverage, Tom Hendrick will profile the race in the 6th Congressional District between Jerry Sikorsky and Arlen Erdahl. All of these stories coming up on tonight's 6 p.m. report.
Target announces the grand opening sale of its new Rochester store. You'll discover brand name bargains like men's and women's Wrangler cords and denim jeans. You get popular Western styling and a great fit. Choose pre-washed Wrangler denims or soft cords in a variety of popular colors. Grand opening sale priced at just $12.99 a pair. Boys' denims and cords in sizes 8 to 16 are now just $8.99 a pair. All Twin City and Rochester stores are celebrating the grand opening sale at Target.
This is the world of Estee Lauder, filled with glamorous times. And now she has a gift for you, a whole beauty collection, including Estee Super Cologne Spray, the fragrance the Estee Lauder woman is wearing. This $20 value is your gift with any Estee Lauder purchase of $7.50 or more. How great to have Estee Lauder treat you to Estee Lauder. Your gift with a purchase is available through October 30th at Dayton's Cosmetics.
WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
From WCCO Television, the Northwest's leading news station, this is the 6 p.m. report.
Good evening, everyone. The twists and turns of the Chisago County Sheriff's race lead the news at this hour.
A national report on child abuse to be broadcast on ABC's 2020 news program a week from next Thursday has become an issue in that race. Part of the report deals with Sheriff Floyd Panatti's handling of the case against one Edward Linehan, a father convicted and sentenced to a year in prison for molesting 2 of his daughters. Dave Nimmer has the story.
The campaign in Chisago County is a three-way race between Dave Ninneman, a highway patrol veteran, Doug Brown, a former Chisago undersheriff, and incumbent Panatti, who is running as a write-in candidate. There have been some charges and countercharges during the campaign over crime figures and misleading letters of endorsement. But the most recent flap is over a Panatti for Sheriff ad that ran in 3 weekly newspapers, and that his campaign opponents say is downright misleading. The ad calls attention to Panatti's scheduled appearance on a segment of 2020. This interview came about, says the ad, quote, as a result of Sheriff Panatti's work with the Minnesota legislature in an effort to secure more effective child abuse laws for our state, unquote. That's not the way the woman who produced the report for 2020 sees it.
I'm quite astonished that he's representing himself as an expert in child abuse or as a pioneer in any way, because we had understood the opposite.
Ms. Reesna says that 2020 was interested in Sheriff Pennati because of the Linehan case.
And I spoke to him about his aspect, about one aspect only, and that was his involvement as an investigator, which had occurred several years before the case had brought to trial. Right. And we were interested in finding out why it took so long to bring the case to prosecution.
The program reportedly features an interview with one of the Linehan girls, saying that Sheriff Pennati knew about the child abuse, and yet, after one incident, told the girls to go home and show more affection to their father, to give him a nice big hug. As for Sheriff Pennati, he said he never had an inkling that Linehan was abusing his children. Today, he turned down an on-camera interview, saying he'd been unfairly skewered in the past by the big city media. But he did say his ad was truthful, that a 2020 spokesman said the news crew was doing a statewide story on child abuse and never once mentioned the Linehan case prior to the interview. Whether or not the truth was stretched is something for the voters to decide when they vote for sheriff on November the 2nd. One thing seems fairly certain, however, and that is that 2020 will have more than its share of interested onlookers here next week. With photographer Bill Kemplin, Dave Nimmer, WCCO Television News in Chisago County.
Late this afternoon, Sheriff Pennati told a publisher that he wished to change the offending ad, which is scheduled to appear Thursday in the Chicago County Press. It will now read, Sheriff Pennati believed he was to be interviewed by 2020 as a result of his work with an interagency advisory committee on child abuse laws. And the ad goes on, the revised ad goes on. Although the interview proved to be for another purpose, he, the sheriff, urges the public to watch the show and form their own judgments, unquote. Jury selection began today in the Craig Jackson murder trial. 50 prospective jurors are being interviewed, questioned about possible biases they may have against the insanity plea, which of course has been so highly publicized since the acquittal of John Hinckley Jr. in the shooting of President Reagan. Jackson has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to the murders of his 2 children and 2 women.
St. Paul's North Wabasha Avenue is the city's latest selection for a revitalization project. As Caroline Lowe reports now from our St. Paul newsroom, there is some concern, though, over deterioration in that area. Caroline?
Well, Pat, North Wabasha Street is known as St. Paul's front porch, and it's a main entry to the city from the north and the west. The avenue was once the center of downtown St. Paul's nightlife. Around the first half of the century, North Wabasha drew thousands of people to its movie theaters and restaurants located south of the state capitol. But during the past 25 years, the avenue experienced much of the deterioration that was evident throughout the downtown area. In recent years, more than $500 million in redevelopment has been taking place near the Loop. But so far, most of the reinvestment has taken place off of Wabasha Avenue. But now, city planners have come up with some proposals to bring the avenue back to life once again.
It's really the next major redevelopment area in downtown. We finished the redevelopment of the Central Core. We finished, to a large extent, the redevelopment of Lower Town. The one major area where we haven't done anything is North Wabasha.
The plan calls for a mixture of residential, entertainment, and retail development on the avenue. Bellis is hopeful that eventually it will become known as the bright light district of the city, where the street life itself is the main attraction. On Thursday, the plan will be formally unveiled before the city council, and if it's approved, planners will use it as a development tool to promote North Wabasha to potential investors. And if all goes well, it'll probably be about 3 or 4 years before we see some actual development on North Wabasha. Back to you, Pat.
Thank you, Caroline. Hennepin County will begin trying to resolve problems between public utilities and the needy. The county board today created a task force on emergency needs to help the increasing number of people who have had their heat shut off. Panel members include county officials, representatives from the various utilities, and also several advocacy groups.
Suppose this does not come as a surprise to many of us, although it's rather startling to see the figures in print. Duluth Superior has one of the highest unemployment rates of all the major urban areas in this country. Unemployment in Duluth Superior is at 19.5%, as compared with the highest rate in the country, 29.9%, or 30% in Youngstown, Ohio. Now, these are the latest figures released by the U.S. Labor Department. There is a billing battle in progress at the Hennepin County Medical Center. We'll look into that story when the 6 p.m. report resumes.
Here, in the middle of America, there's lots of small towns. Lots of big ones, too. They all have a lot in common, no matter the size. There's a post office, couple of churches, roads heading every which way, And of course, your full-service bank. Folks living here in the middle of America know no one does more for you and your money than your full-service bank.
Santiago is a whole lot more than just tacos. It's tasty dinner combinations, red and green chilies, hearty burritos, our own zesty cheese chilito, crisp Santiago nachos, and more. All served fresh, fast, and with a smile.
Santiago, a whole lot more than a taco store.
A lot more.
Amigo, Santiago.
We're going to take a bite out of this apple to make a point. When your company has a Delta dental plan, your family can have regular dental checkups and other necessary dental services, yet you'll probably never see a big dental bill again. And that's the point. With Delta Dental, you can continue to take good, healthy bites out of things you like to eat without having dental costs take big bites out of you. Isn't it time you had a Delta dental plan where you work?
Administrators at the Hennepin County Medical Center are trying to get the federal government now to pay more money for each of the hospital bills that it receives from the center.
Even though the proposal is likely to save the county money, it's meeting stiff opposition from some of the county commissioners. Health and Science reporter Dr. Larry Kuttner has the story.
When Hennepin County Medical Center sends a bill to Medicare, it collects less money than other area hospitals. That's because the physicians who work at the medical center are paid a salary by the county. They're not in private practice. So to get what they feel is their fair share of federal funds and to save the county some money, hospital administrators have come up with what they call the Academic Group Practice Plan. Under the proposed plan, the medical center would bill for institutional services, room, board, lab tests, etc. The doctors would form a separate corporation to bill for their services. The actual bills sent to Medicare would be increased, so the doctors would make more money. Since doctors would no longer be on salary at the medical center, the county would save about $6.5 million a year in payroll. All of this because of a change in bookkeeping. Yet not everyone thinks it's a good idea.
The economy is in trouble because of government spending, and this is a prize example, it seems to me, of government spending for such an artificial matter as bookkeeping.
Well, my function and my job, as I understand my charge, is to get as many federal dollars and state dollars as is possible under the existing rules and regulations.
The proposal is currently being studied by the county. With photographer Bob Fishnick, Dr. Larry Kuttner, WCCO Television News at Hennepin County Medical Center.
A Minneapolis transsexual is suing his doctor for malpractice because he decided he didn't really want the sex change. Chris Oliver underwent surgery at the Metropolitan Medical Center in May. But Oliver claims his surgeon, Sheridan Stevens, and his therapist, Diane Olson, didn't do all they could to make sure he was a qualified candidate for the sex change. The hospital and another doctor are also named in the suit. Pat?
The defense has now begun its testimony in the lengthy Dawkins Shield case in U.S. District Court. In that case, Minneapolis attorney Norman Pearl is charged with 18 counts of mail fraud and 1 count of conspiracy. Those charges stem from his handling of claims filed by women who said they suffered injury from using the Dawkins Shield contraceptives. The state Supreme Court has ordered that a former West St. Paul schoolteacher be reinstated now. Dwayne Fryer was dismissed following allegations that he improperly touched and disciplined his students. He was a physical education teacher at Pilot Knob Elementary School. A Dakota County District Court subsequently overruled that action, saying the evidence against Fryer wasn't strong enough. The High Court ruling backs up that decision. Overall, fewer students are attending Minnesota's private colleges and state universities. However, that is not the case at the University of Minnesota.
Despite predictions that a tuition increase would reduce this year's student population at the university, it has increased, well, by 59 students across the entire 5-campus system. But new figures released by the state's private schools show that enrollment there is down 3%, or 796 students from a year ago. The figures cover 15 of the state's 17 private schools. The biggest drop was in freshman classes across the private schools, which was nearly 6% drop. We'll preview these 6 congressional races, part of our Campaign 82 coverage, when the 6 p.m. report resumes.
Smile, Minnesota.
Now, TCF is making installment loans. They're making loans for brand spanking new cars, all kinds of boats, home improvements, most anything you need money for. And they're doing it with attractive rates, easy repayment plans, and 60 years of lending experience. Now TCF has installment loans at 51 statewide offices.
Excuse us, sir.
Sure.
Hey, is that who I think it is? Nah, anybody who played pro football has to be faster than that.
When I decorated my living room, it was like getting this much wallpaper free.
In my kitchen, it was like getting this much wallpaper free.
It's the wall-to-wall sale at Wallpapers to Go. Now save 10 to 40% on our entire stock of over 1,000 patterns. From foils to natural weaves, they're all 10 to 40% off. That's like getting up to this much free.
Hurry, sale ends Sunday, October 24th.
You want something better, you've been smart enough to find. Wendy's does it better, that's why you're Wendy's kind of people. You know how you want it, hot off the grill, with the fixings you want on it. You'll really get your fill, that's why you're Wendy's kind of people. You want something better, you're Wendy's kind of people. Who can get a Dan and body? You can get a Dan and body. Your body can be a Dan and body. My body can be a Dan and body. Who can? You can get a Dan and body.
Start an exercise and low-calorie eating plan with Dannon yogurt part of it. Dannon is the one leading fruit yogurt that's not only low-fat, but all natural, with no added coloring or flavoring.
Who can? You can get a Dan and body.
Probably more than any other congressional race in Minnesota, the new 6th district will be a showdown for Reaganomics here. The campaign pits two-term Congressman Arlen Erdahl, a Republican who lost his rural 2nd district seat when the boundaries of Minnesota's congressional districts were redrawn, against Democratic State Senator Jerry Sikorsky. As Election Day draws near, the rhetoric in this race grows more pointed. And as Tom Hendrick reports, it's not just adult Reaganomics, but about Reaganomics as well.
The 6th District, suburban Hennepin, Anoka, Washington, Wright, and Sherburne counties, is predominantly young, under 45, largely blue-collar, East European ethnic, and Catholic, and with 10% unemployment is very worried.
As someone who will soon be losing their job, I'd like to know what both candidates specifically will be doing about the unemployment problem.
The economy is the issue, and the candidates' views on it are diametrically opposed. Republican Arlen Erdahl supports Reaganomics, says jobs will eventually come from the private sector as less government spending drives inflation and interest rates lower. He's against government jobs programs, for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. Democrat Jerry Sikorsky says Reaganomics is the issue, not the answer. He calls a balanced budget amendment a cruel gimmick. He is for government-funded jobs programs.
They're cost effective. They cost taxpayers less to put people back to work. It's less food stamps, it's less public assistance, it's less unemployment compensation, and it's tax revenue, and that turns over again and again and again.
We can pump, let's say, billions of dollars more into some artificial programs, but that's been where our problem originated in the first place. The jobs, I think, are going to come out like they have in the past, basically out of a productive society.
Their economic differences are fundamental, as are their backgrounds. Sikorsky claims Erdahl, a two-term congressman from the old rural 2nd district, is an opportunist who recently moved here only after being redistricted out of his old seat.
The issue of how we got into the district, how my opponent got into the 6th district after saying absolutely wouldn't run in the 6th district, after saying that he was going to run in the 1st district and did run down there and then lose down there, after going to the United States Supreme Court to have this very district eliminated, bothers people.
I feel very at ease running in this district. It is a diverse district. It's made up of small businessmen and women, of laboring people, of farmers, small townspeople, suburban people. I'm running as the closest thing to an incumbent they have. It's a new district in a sense for me, except for the 120,000 people I represent in Washington County.
A turnout greater than 60% is expected at the polls. While personalities may be a factor, the popularity of Ronald Reagan probably will be the deciding one. I'm Tom Hendrick, WCCO Television News, the 6th District.
One of the better-known figures from the Watergate scandal was in the Twin Cities today, remembering those times. John Dean III spoke to students at the College of St. Thomas. He talked about how rationalizing allowed him to cross ethical lines during the scandal. He also said he will reveal the identity of Watergate's anonymous news source, Deep Throat, in his next book, Lost Honor. Mr. Dean was one of 6 White House aides convicted as a result of the Watergate developments. Bud Kraehling is one of 4,000 Twin Cities TV weather forecasters who is telling us that for sure it will snow sometime between now and tomorrow noon. We'll hear from himself in a moment.
Some folks say I'm just a ham, but I'm a sausage man. That's what I am. My smoked sausage is made just right. Real smoke taste a little more bite.
Jimmy Dean smoked sausage.
Any way you serve it, you're going to love it. Jimmy Dean smoked sausage. 3 great varieties with that natural smoked flavor. You think smoked sausage is all the same? Try Jimmy Dean. Don't you love that name?
Jimmy Dean
smoked sausage.
Now, control hair that's dry.
Condition hair that's flyaway with today's Alberto VO5 hairdressing.
VO5 conditions.
It's 99% concentrated conditioners.
As it controls.
VO5 makes hair manageable, keeps it neat and well-groomed.
And still keeps it looking soft and natural with a clean, healthy shine.
VO5, VO5.
Today's VO5 hairdressing.
Conditions as it controls.
Are you one of the thousands of adults in Minnesota struggling with career decisions or unemployment? Or are you a professional working in the field of career development? Then you should know that a University of Minnesota credit course on career development and planning is being offered this year through Television Independent Study. You may register and complete all requirements for this course through the mail. Materials for the course include a study guide, texts, and 10 television programs. The instructor is Dr. Sonny Hansen, a professional career counselor. This course is for those who are personally or professionally interested in the field of career development. It will examine labor market trends and data, career decision-making, and dual careers. For further information, call the Department of Independent Study at 612-376-4925. This is John Gallus with Career Network Reports.
Before we have our travel advisories, reports of thunderstorms and snow and hail at Boone, Iowa, we have the good news or the good views. Some of the most beautiful fall scenery can be seen along Highway 12 from about the Theodore Wirth Parkway west to the Minneapolis city limits, about 2 or 3 blocks there. Most gorgeous scenery you will find.
It looks a little bit like Lake of the Isles, too.
It's just lovely.
Oh, gorgeous.
Now the facts and figures. It is raining. 44 degrees, 82% humidity. Winds north 25, gusting to 36. Pressure is 2981 and the pressure is falling. Our temperature range, present reading at 44 is the low for the day, but early morning we did have 54 degrees. We had 69/100ths of an inch of precipitation today. The old rule of thumb, that could have been about 6 inches of snow. Sunrise 7:34 and sunset just about now, isn't it? At 6:22. Early morning temperatures range from the 7 degrees at West Yellowstone, Montana, to temperatures in the 70s early morning from Houston to the Miami area. And temperatures early this morning were in the 30s from Knoxville, Tennessee to Philadelphia to the Portland, Maine area. And as storm centers moved from Kansas into Iowa and just east of the lakes, on a strong cold front connecting them, snow was scattered from the western Dakotas down through central Nebraska, Chadron, Nebraska, with 4 inches of snow. First snow of the season at Denver, Colorado, and showers and thunderstorms in the warmer air ahead of the cold front from Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, up to Michigan. There was hail at Quincy, Illinois today, and frost and freezing temperatures expected tonight as far south as the Oklahoma-Texas panhandle. Right now, showers and thunderstorms are south of the line from Fargo to Duluth and to west central Wisconsin. Our WeatherNet station at Durand is reporting a thunderstorm at the moment, and we do have a travel advisory for tonight for southeastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, with 4 inches of snow possible in that area, and driving could be just a little on the tough side. Our forecast tonight in the Twin Cities metro area. Rain mixed with or changing to snow by late evening. Northwest winds at 10 to 25 and 30 degrees for the overnight temperature. The forecast for tomorrow, a few snow flurries in the morning and sunny by the afternoon, and warming up to temperatures in the mid-40s. And then a fair to partly cloudy series of days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and a bit warmer from the mid-50s to the low 60s, and from the mid-30s to the mid-40s for nighttime temperatures. But tonight, there is rain and snow as far as Redwood Falls and moving to the east.
I get the feeling you like this. Well, since you mentioned it, I'm going to tell you that U.S. ski jumping team now has a new twist these days to Olympic training, and Ralph John will have the details when we come back.
Last year, MCI started its long-distance discounts in the home. The response has been gratifying, to say the least.
My bills have been running over $100. MCI cut them in half.
This is the best thing since pizza and beer.
Since sliced bread.
Since the wheel.
Your service is the greatest thing since the ballpoint pen.
If your long-distance bills are $25 or more, call MCI and join the rest of the country in cutting them down to size.
Brewed with the best from our great Northwest.
Schmidt beer, with a great big taste of the great Northwest. A taste that comes from pure water, filtered by nature for more than 100 years. It's crystal clear spring water from Schmidt's own deep well that gives you a taste as big and fresh as the great Northwest. Schmidt beer.
Brewed with the best from our great Northwest.
When winter comes, the wind blows hard. Your hard-earned heat can end up in the yard without Stanley weatherproofing. Stanley seals windows, doors, top to bottom. Just the right seal for spots you've forgotten. Plugs for plugs, a wrap on the pipes, the heater, a blanket. What could be neater? For shutting out drafts, sealing odd shapes. Stanley makes the job easy, gets it done right. Because Stanley seals the whole house. Seals it up tight.
Rebates up to $5 from Stanley, Knox Lumber, and Coast to Coast Lumber.
With Kodak's 400-speed films, you can catch the action, even when it's too fast for the eye to see. The fastest 35mm films from Kodak.
If you're figuring on settling down under the World Series tonight, I hope you have some contingency plans, because that's not a certainty, is it?
The weatherman's coming into the act here, Dave. Don't you think all teams should have a dome this time of year?
Oh, absolutely. Just for this one game.
You betcha. Thunderstorms, by the way, are forecast for Game 6, and they say they're going to move in right around game time in the St. Louis area. Those rain delays, of course, almost always affect the pitchers most, and some keep loose by throwing against the wall. Others rub their arm in hot ointment. John Stuper is just a rookie, and in Game 2 he gave up 4 runs in 4 innings for the Cardinals, and he'll be out to be the stopper tonight. He'll start against Don Sutton, who's been through this before. Sutton has an outstanding postseason record, as you see, and he is ready to go.
I think I get a little more nervous and a little more excited watching the other guys pitch than I do myself. After doing it for so long, I kind of feel like I like to get into a little bit of a groove, maybe mentally and physically, and just go out and do what I know I'm supposed to do to win. I won't be revved up anymore during the game. Between now and then, I probably will be, and certainly I hope I will be afterwards.
Dino Cicerelli has been doing the scoring, but it is no coincidence that the Stars are off to a fast start, and so is Gary Sargent. Gary's league-leading plus-minus figure is now an outstanding 11. Now, that means he has been on the ice for 11 more goals than his opponents have scored. In comparison, Gretzky led the league last year with 81, but Sargent is ahead of that pace. Gary scored twice last night as St. Louis lost the game, and Joe Mullen suffered a severe contusion to his left leg there after he hit the post after that breakaway. Tom McCarthy scored the deciding goal in the 4-3 win. The Stars begin a 4-game road trip in Toronto Wednesday night. At the moment, Minnesota is the only undefeated team in the National Hockey League. Well, the U.S. alpine and cross-country ski teams proved all last year that they are just as strong as the Europeans. The ski jumping team is a ways to go yet, but thanks to the good old Yankee ingenuity, they are getting a good jump, if you'll pardon the expression. This is not your average school bus, although it does school young people, ski jumpers. The bus was built 2 years ago after Bob Middlestad of Burnsville thought it would be a cheaper way to stimulate ski jumping in the off-season. Today, Duluth's John Denny of the U.S. ski team was strapped in and got an interesting view of Interstate 35W. Each minute in this Mobile wind tunnel equals 20 jumps off a hill, and wind resistance is measured so Coach Greg Winsberger can help the jumper achieve optimum form. Training facilities and funds have always been a problem for the jumping team, but this simulator cost only $5 grand and gas.
The thing we have over the expensive wind tunnels is that we can go in it all day long if we want to, where the wind tunnel on the East Coast, we have to spend $5,000 to $10,000 an hour to be in.
On the road again, I guess this just goes to show you even the best sometimes need training wheels. Well, it is day 29 of the National Football League strike. It is getting awfully close now to packing it in and calling it a season. The games scheduled for this weekend were called off today. That means 5 weeks have now been washed down the drain. They say they can make up 2 weeks, so at most, if they settle within the next few days, we'll have a 13-week season. And last night in Los Angeles, they needed 22,000 fans to break even at the Coliseum. They had 5,300 to watch the American West beat the National West 31-27. They did resume negotiations today, but both sides still at a standstill.
I wonder if that means the fans have spoken. Perhaps
I
not.
think so, by saying nothing.
Right. That's it for tonight's 6 p.m. report.
We'll be back again tonight at 10, though, and we hope you'll join us. Good night, everyone.
Hi, I'm Steve Doyle. Tonight on PM Magazine, we'll visit an incredible underground city beneath one of the world's most barren deserts in Australia. Please join us.
Today, there's an automobile battery that delivers at least 15% more cold cranking amps. That's 15% more starting current than the best-selling battery in America. The Excite Edge, more power. The Excite Edge, power when you need it. The Excite Edge, more power to start your car.
Powerful Excite Edge now at these and other participating automotive outlets.
When Washington cuts aid to education, who does that hurt? You, because you pay more in property taxes. When Washington lets energy prices rise, who does that hurt? You, because you pay higher utility bills. When the federal deficit soars, who does that hurt? You, because you can't borrow to buy a home or start a business. The bottom line is, Minnesota's middle class can't afford the policies coming from Washington today. We need a new senator with the independence to fight those policies and help us. We need Mark Dayton.
Look how water can destroy unprotected wood, but not if it's protected with Thompson's Water Seal. Use Thompson's Water Seal waterproofer on dozens of surfaces. Brush on Thompson's for an invisible barrier that helps prevent water from entering and damaging brick, wood, and concrete. Your house isn't really protected until it's protected with Thompson's Water Seal.
Participating hardware, Hank. Participating our own hardware.